This podcast is brought to you by 2 More Reps Coffee Beans. Get your 2 more reps with this natural pre-workout. Buy your bag at 2morereps.com.au. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Paul's Body Engineering Podcast. Today I have another very special guest with me, Dr. Adam Epskamp. He is a chiropractic doctor, very experienced, also a very experienced group fitness instructor, has been in the health and fitness industry for such a long time, close to 20 years. And today we're going to talk about what a chiropractor actually does, the services that they provide, but also he's been working closely with me in relation to assisting with my sleep and posture correction. So we're going to delve into that and how adjustments on the body can improve your ability to sleep better. So this is a great in-depth podcast with a lot of good value, a lot of good content. So I really appreciate Adam for his time, and I cannot wait to share this one with you. So without further ado, let's get on with it. This podcast is brought to you by 2 More Reps Coffee Beans. Get your 2 more reps with this natural pre-workout. Buy your bag at 2morereps.com.au. All right, Dr. Adam Epskamp. I think I said that right.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Welcome, mate. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you for giving up your time. So I wanted to chat with you because obviously, this podcast is all focused around health and fitness of varying degrees, and chiropractor is something that I didn't know a lot about until I approached you. So I thought, let's dig deep into this subject matter and talk about the service you provide, but all the benefits that can come from it too, yeah?
Totally, yeah.
But do you want to give us a quick background in terms of your education and how you came? Because you do a lot of other stuff too. You're entrenched in health and fitness, isn't you? So
squeezed a lot in the last 20 years.
I reckon so. So take us back a little bit and just introduce yourself in terms of what you do, background, and then where you are now.
So I guess my journey began really as a teenager, and I was pretty fit and athletic and surfing and all that sort of stuff early on, and then I got my driver's license and thought eating food and ordering alcohol from the car was pretty amazing. So that's how the story started.
So you started Uber Eats before it actually came around.
That's right, yeah. And I got big, real big, fat big. So I was 115 kilos.
Whoa.
And that was affecting what I love to do as far as activity goes, surfing in particular. And there was one day where I was down, I'm from West Oz, but I was down the southwest, my favourite surf break, and it was like the day you dream of, perfect, not many people there.
Yeah, right.
But by the time I paddled out, I was cactus.
Yeah, wow.
I was literally I am in trouble here. I'm so unfit, unwell, unhealthy.
Yep.
And so that was a really big turning point because I realised the decisions I was making at that point were affecting my health and my fitness.
Yeah, wow.
And I say it like that because I'm an advocate of identifying that health and fitness are two very separate things. They can be related, but they're very separate.
Yes.
So I contemplated life in the water, actually turned around and paddled in and drove straight from the beach there. That was Yelling Up. So it took me 3.5 hours back then to drive back up to Perth, and I walked into Craigie Leisure Centre, and I literally had sand on my feet and asked for help.
Wow.
I need help.
Yeah, right.
And then I got an appraisal that day. So I went home, got my shoes, came back for the appraisal. And that was back in the days where I say gyms were gyms, I had 2 trainers there, put me on the erg bike and did all the fitness testing and the step up and all that sort of stuff to get a real good baseline of where I was at. And so I got into fitness through that as far as the fitness industry. The health followed after that because I started to see the results. Now, in 6 months, I wasn't shredded to the bone and chiseled jaw and all that sort of stuff, but I definitely had more confidence.
Yep.
And I was able to get back into surfing and do the things I love to do.
How old were you when you had that moment, that
That was 19, 20 years of age. I was studying mechanical engineering at that point.
Okay.
And yeah, that was the lifestyle where chip buddies and jugs of beer were the standard lunchtime nutrition.
Yes.
And so I was good at that. I'm a very scientific mind. I was really good at mechanical engineering, but I put that on hold because I didn't love it.
Okay.
And then I actually went into audio engineering. So I did that. So it was about that time that this event stuff happened. I would have been 19, 20, and realised that I had the opportunity to either take control or, like some of my friends at that age, and this is ridiculous now that I'm saying it, I'm 40 now, but at 19 years of age, some of my friends just decided they were too old to surf.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, okay.
I'm done. I'm too old. Surfing's not for me anymore.
Yeah, right.
So I was lucky enough to have a different mindset to that and be like, I want to still surf.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked for help.
Sure.
So that was the age where that kind of turned around. And I studied audio engineering, got into audio engineering, but back then, this is 20 odd years ago, so I got to work at like Big Day Out and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, cool.
But it's a terrible job. Because you're setting up, like those shifts were 23, 24 hours.
Wow.
Right? You bump them in, set it all up, mix across the day, then you have to pack it all up when everyone leaves. And so the lifestyle was terrible.
Yep.
And back then you could still smoke in the pubs.
Yeah.
So I'd go mix at a pub and I wouldn't drink, wouldn't smoke, but I was inhaling all the smoke.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is affecting my health,
Yeah.
So I got into construction and took my skill set into electrical and comms technician sort of stuff. So I've got a construction background as well.
Yep.
But I was looking around then and I could see all these 40-year-olds, 45-year-olds with injuries. And I was like, I'm a bit of a risk taker. And I was like, well, I'm going to fall off a set of steps at some stage. So... these guys still have 20 years of working left before they retire. And I was like, well, what's life look like for those guys?
Yeah, of course.
So I made a decision. I was like, well, I'm not going to be in construction forever. I've got to make sure I do something where I can help people facilitate, fitness and health changes.
Yes.
And so I looked through everything from PT to human movement to physiotherapy, and my chiro at the time said to me, he said, well, why don't you do chiropractic? I was like, well, and I said to him, I'm not smart enough to be a doctor. He said, well, if you're smart enough to be a mechanical engineer, you're smart enough to do chiropractic. So that was the clinching moment, and 6 months later I was sitting in my chiropractic course at Murdoch University in Western Australia.
Yep.
That's a 5-year course at uni, and it ran parallel with the veterinary science stuff as well. So we did a lot of comparative mammalian anatomy. So got to dissect dogs and pigs and all this sort of stuff, which kind of led to my interest in adjusting animals as well. So that's a pretty cool venture. Yeah. Mainly because there's no ego involved. Yeah. Okay. Animals either get better or they don't, and they're not trying to not hurt your feelings and say, it's just real, right? And people see it, they're like, well, I took my dog to see him, now my dog can run for the first time in years, there's obviously something in it.
Absolutely.
And the pediatric population's the same, there's no ego involved, so they either get better or they don't.
Yep.
Yeah, so I've got a pediatric focus as far as chiro stuff goes. But so that's kind of how I tied that all in, so that's 5 years of chiro. I did do a postgraduate pediatric in chiropractic study. It's a 2-year diplomat because when I first started, they only had the 1 year certificate. Okay. And then they changed it to a 2-year diplomat. Yeah. And now it's a 3-year fellowship. Right. But because they turned it to a 2-year thing, I had to do it across 3 years because I'd done some of the modules and timing. But it was kind of good because I got that spread across 3 years. Got more time to absorb the information, all that sort of stuff. Yep. So that's the pediatric stuff there. But while I was at university, a good mate of mine was getting paid to exercise. Yeah, right. I was like, holy heck, how are you getting paid to exercise? So he was a group exercise instructor. Right. And I was like, well, I always wanted to be a PT as well. So I went back. I just did my Cert 3 in group exercise instruction, and went on to do a whole bunch in the exercise industry.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was 2006, 2007.
Yeah, wow.
And I've been working in the industry ever since.
Okay.
As both a chiropractor and a
fitness instructor, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
Yep.
Your Les Mills, what do you call it, accredited or?
Yep. Yeah. So,
that's...
got my certification in multiple Les Mills programs. RPM was my first love, which is the stationary bike journey. Then I did body pump, which is the barbell.
Yep.
To music, CX Works. What else did I do? Sprint, which is a 30-minute high-intensity training on the bike.
Yep.
I did Les Mills bar as well.
Yeah, right.
So I've got a few feathers in my cap for Les Mills, and then more recently I did what's called Les Mills The Trip, which is it's a big screen. It's like a virtual immersive where I'm still instructing.
Yep.
But there's a massive visual component to it.
Oh, that's cool.
It's like being at a cinema and riding bike at the same time. So, that was my Les Mills stuff. I was fortunate enough to be, because I'm like, my classes are quite enthusiastic, shall I say, and innately I bring a lot of education through.
Sure.
Les Mills valued that, and so I became a master trainer and presenter for Les Mills, and
unreal.
I only wrapped that up last year in December. Because I've created my own program called Rider Revolution as well.
Yes.
Which is a 30-minute high-intensity training session on a bike also. So that's just another business venture I've got on the side as well.
Just something else to do.
Squeeze that all in.
Yep.
So that pretty much brings us, I think that's the big ticket items as far as my background.
Yeah, okay.
I was fortunate enough to do a lot of the personal development stuff for Les Mills as well. What they call the advanced training.
Yep.
Because I have a massive interest in it myself. I had a good conversation with another colleague around Simon Sinek, which is definitely worth looking up. That's your start with why.
Yep.
What drives you, what motivates you to do what we do day in, day out.
Absolutely.
And my why is to create remarkable experiences of mind, body and soul and celebrate what it means to be fit, able and healthy.
I love it.
So I'm pretty clear on that.
Yep.
And there's multiple vessels that we can do that. Obviously for yourself, you're a PT, like that's your coaching, that's how you do your why.
Yep.
For me, it's through group exercise and through chiropractic.
Yeah, unreal.
And then how did Ride Revolution come about? Well, that was, 3 years ago, shit hit the fan and we all locked down, right?
We did.
And,
that's right. Can't forget it.
A group exercise instructor was pretty much
null and
chopped
void.
off at the knees, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I wanted to find another way to reach people through fitness, and so I started just an online class. And at the time, everyone was just filming it off their phone and had music in the background. I was just like, this is shit. Like, the end user experience was terrible. So there was no remarkable experience about that. I get that everyone had to pivot quickly.
Yeah, of course.
But I've got a background in audio engineering.
There you go, right.
So I was like, well, it's time to
step it up.
Blow the cobwebs out of that part of my brain and stepped it up. So started creating my own music that could be used online, didn't have any copyright issues.
Yep.
And high fidelity, like I've got a microphone on that's all recorded in, and so the experience for the end user is heaps better.
Unreal.
So that's how that came about.
How good. Yeah.
So my chiropractic definitely facilitates a lot of my side hustle stuff.
Yeah.
But the side hustle is taking off as well. So, it's fun organising two businesses at once and having multiple people work under me and all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. So let's dive into the chiropractic side of things, because I want to get into that.
Yeah.
So explain, I guess, in layman's terms, what a chiropractor actually does, because I think that's we were speaking off air just before. There's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of stigma. Potential in regards to what they do and they don't do.
Yeah.
Obviously I see you twice a week for adjustments, but there's a lot more to it than just cracking someone, isn't there?
Correct. Yeah. There's There's a big difference. I'm big on language. Like, I choose my language carefully because language is the one thing we can control.
Yeah.
And if we choose it wisely, we can convey the message we want quite well, or maybe not so well if we don't choose the right language. And Jordan Peterson talks a lot about that sort of stuff. Is be careful with how you phrase stuff, what you say,
100%.
because the intention is there whether you know it or not. But yeah, so chiropractors, we call it the chiropractic adjustment. And so most people will be familiar with probably referring to it as a manipulation.
Yep.
Our job, what makes us unique as a profession is we look for what's called a subluxation pattern. Now, what is that? That is a misalignment in the spine that causes nervous system irritation.
Right.
So that's what we're looking for.
Okay.
If the nervous system isn't communicating well from your brain to your body, then you can't function optimally. And if that goes on for long enough, you end up with disease.
Yep.
So that's what we look for. Chiropractors essentially are in the profession of detecting and correcting subluxation patterns.
Okay.
So that's it in short. Do we treat certain conditions? My answer is no. We look for subluxation, but it just so happens that a subluxation pattern will cause diseases, right?
Right.
And so, someone who has irritation in the spinal column at the base of the neck, that will influence all the nerves that do the arm.
Yeah, okay.
Right? And so if there's irritation there, people will experience numbness in the hand or weakness of grip strength, and they will often call that carpal tunnel syndrome, or they'll get, because they can't get the building blocks to the arm, they're more likely to have tennis elbow or golfer's elbow.
Yep.
Rotator cuff stuff starts to show up, bursitis, all this sort of stuff starts to show up because the nerves from the neck to the arm are being irritated.
Yep.
Right? And there's a difference between irritation really and then compression, because a lot of people love the pinched nerve scenario.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And people do talk about it because for the average person, there's a lot to understand. But it's been, people refer to the standing on the hose, not getting enough information down there, and all that sort of stuff, which to a certain extent may happen. We can't really predict how the inflammation and irritation will affect the nerve. We just know that it will affect the nerves.
Yep.
Right. For some people, that means it'll make them more active. For some people, it'll be less active.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Makes sense.
So it's not like you're choking out a hose every time. It's going to be different for everyone's physiology.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the big one. Most chiropractors will focus primarily on the spine because that's the biggest bang for buck. Of course, the brain and the spinal cord are housed by the spinal column and the skull.
Yes.
So most chiros will focus on those areas. And we know that for the biggest density of nerves that exists in the spine, the jaw, the upper neck. So I understand why most chiros just look at the spine, but what you've come to notice with me is I'm adjusting extremities as well.
Absolutely.
Because the nervous system does extend all the way out to our fingertips and our toes.
It does.
So I kind of feel like if you're not looking at the whole picture, you're missing some of the vital components that could be irritating the spinal column at the end of the day.
That's fair. Yep.
So that's my opinion on the situation. But yeah, I'll definitely adjust areas of the extremities, the hands, wrists, elbows, shoulders, collarbones in particular for a lot of people.
Yep.
Toes, ankles, knees, hips, because if they aren't working well, then the spine can't work optimally either.
Absolutely. Makes perfect sense.
So hopefully that covered it at the end of the day.
I reckon so. Now, obviously, you call your little room at Silverback the adjustatorium, didn't you? Is that
Correct.
what it's called?
Yeah.
I like that. So, people obviously see you multiple times because these things, it's not a one fix adjustment, is it? It's going to take, like anything, like losing weight or like getting stronger. It takes time and time and time.
When you're working with physiology, right, the way the body works, everything's a process.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone that's conquered fitness yet. I don't know anyone that's conquered health yet.
Yeah.
Because it's a practice.
Yeah, that's
just
right.
like yoga. Yoga is a practice. you don't conquer these things, but you practice it daily.
That's right.
So the little habits we do.
Absolutely.
But we identify 3 major stresses. Like every stress comes under these 3 major categories. We've got physical stress, and that makes a lot of sense to people.
Yep.
You fall on your butt, you have a boo-boo, ouch.
Yep.
And that's what we'd call a major physical stress. And everyone's looking for those stresses, right? Have I been hit by a car? Like, did I fall off a roof? Like, all that sort of stuff. Did I dive into a swimming pool that was too shallow?
Yep.
Everyone's looking for the big event. The reality is the big event is the little things we do every single day.
Yeah.
Right? The way we drive our car, the way we sit at a desk, the way we use our phones, all that sort of stuff.
100%.
What we call micro trauma, that has the biggest major effect.
Because repetitive over and over and over again. Yeah.
The little habits that
Yeah.
we have, right?
Yeah, true.
So that's what I look for. I mean, people are usually drawn in because there's a crisis. It's like, all right, now I can't get out of bed, so I better go do something about it.
Yep.
And then they'll blame something, like, I picked up my suitcase the wrong way off the carousel. And it's like, do you think it was the suitcase?
Yeah.
It was the 45 years of bad habits that you've accumulated up until that point.
That's right.
The suitcase was just the straw. But that's, I'm realistic about the fact that that's a big concept for people to like go, oh, so you reckon it was the rest of my life that did that?
Yeah.
That's a big jump.
Of course it is.
Because we're very mechanistic.
Yes.
We're like 1 + 1 = 2.
Yep.
So I didn't have back pain. I picked up my suitcase, and now I've got back pain. It was the suitcase.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it was your entire life before that.
That's it. Yeah.
And making decisions. Now, so that's physical. Physical stress is like a major one.
Yep.
I think in this day and age, the biggest one is chemical stress. And that can be your environment, the environment you live in. Like if you're in a mechanical workshop, there's definitely chemicals and all that sort of stuff.
Of course.
Having worked in construction,
Yep.
there's a lot that's changed. I used to drill into concrete constantly, and now we're all talking about silica and all this sort of stuff. Or you go back even further, asbestos.
Asbestos, yeah.
We're going to find about all this sort of stuff over the next few years. That
100%.
we probably should have been wearing safety gear for, but we didn't know. We didn't
know.
know.
No, you don't. You only know what you know.
And we're learning. So that's the environmental component. What you'll know really well is nutrition, or a lack of it.
Yep.
More importantly, nutrition is the biggest factor these days because I think we're eating food-like products.
Yeah.
Not food.
It's a very good point. We are.
It looks like food.
Yeah, it looks like food.
Tastes like food.
Smells like food.
It's devoid of nutrition. Though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah. So, so that's probably, in my opinion, one of the biggest issues. And we've got this really emotional connection to food as well. Like if we're not having the fun foods like Mexican or like burgers or pizza, like we feel like we're missing out on life.
Yep.
And it couldn't be any more opposite. I think you're missing out on life if you keep poisoning yourself.
100%. I could not agree more.
So I don't have to preach to you, but
No.
it's a message that's consistent in the fitness industry, and in the health industry, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm in gyms every single day, and I rarely shower at home. I'm always using the change rooms, but the noises I hear out of the toilet stalls, right? I think you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be making that noise.
No, that's fair. Oh, dear.
It's horrendous. The smells, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's not a healthy gut.
No.
Whatever you're shoving down there is not working.
No,
or at least it's making your life harder
Big time.
than it needs to
It's
be.
not agreeing with you, no.
So bowel movements are a key indicator of health.
Yep.
If you're spitting at the bowl, it's not right. You've got to change something. So that's chemical. That's the quick rendition of chemical. And then the other one's emotional.
Of course, yeah.
I think we've seen this more significantly over the last 3 years because of the lack of connection, the isolation, the fear. That has brought, and there's a silver lining to the whole shit show that happened, is that mental health has become more apparent to people because of their experience. So I think that's a win. But we have to make sure that we are looking after ourselves, and it does manifest as physical issues.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
It can,
the relationship between depression and anxiety and low back pain is significant. So significant.
Yes.
Now, that's not the only like emotional stress, but you got financial stress, relationship stress, lack of sleep stress. Like that's emotional stress as well.
Yep.
You name it. You think of kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Getting to work on time. Like they're all stresses. Running a business, that's a stress. That essentially stress out your nervous system and can manifest physically.
Yes.
So that's a big one that I think a lot of people struggle with because they're still looking for that big bang.
Absolutely.
Where was the accident? What did I do to make this happen?
We're very reactive, not proactive.
Correct.
Yeah. So we wait for something to go pear-shaped before we respond.
Right. We've been trained that way.
Yeah.
There's a pill for every ill is like essentially how our medicine has worked. And this is how I say it, like if you're in emergency, like medicine does some amazing stuff.
Yep.
Right? They keep you alive. Right? Or I'm going to choose my language here. They stop you from dying.
Yeah, it's fair.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you're just dying slowly, they don't know how to help you. They don't have a protocol for that.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, that's within normal limits. You're not about to die on my watch.
That's right.
So,
on your way.
You're healthy.
Yeah, because the range is like this.
Yeah, you're healthy enough.
Yeah.
So chiropractors will talk about the idea of like, and we say, and I say it with convictions, like I'm saving lives.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Now I'm not stopping you from dying, but I'm saving quality of life.
Absolutely.
If we can get your nervous system functioning well, you can do everything in your day better.
100%. I would consider myself the same. If we take 20 kilos off your frame, you're going to extend your life by 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah, and this is fact.
Yeah.
This is fact.
Yeah.
We're not making this stuff up.
No, that's exactly right.
So
yeah, absolutely.
So they're the three big ones, and just to recap on that, is physical, chemical, and emotional stress.
Yeah.
And that'll manifest in the body in a subluxation pattern. So that's what causes the misalignments. That's what we detect as chiropractors and correct it.
Yep.
Now, it's not like a stack of blocks.
No.
We don't put bones back in, right? Because if it was out, you'd be paralysed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Do we improve the function of those areas?
Yeah.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah. That's probably the big take home. And so people come to chiropractic because they're experiencing stress in their lives. There's usually a crisis that brings them in, like acute back pain, neck pain, period pain, whatever it is.
Sure.
But that's kind of the like if you take it back to those three major stresses, that's the cause.
Yep.
Right. It manifests in the human body as subluxation. We correct the subluxation, but we hope to coach you around those across time.
Yeah. Right? And that's it. And that's the key, isn't it? Time.
Everyone's in a rush.
Yeah, we're all impatient.
And there's a process to all this stuff. You can't... Now, there's a discussion around this at the moment in the industry. I see a lot of physios talking about... Because chiros will say, we can help you speed up recovery. Right? And they want to poo-poo it. And they say, it can't happen. You cannot speed it up. And I'm like, well, let's make this relative. Can you slow it down?
Good point. Yeah.
The answer is shit. Yeah, you can slow it down.
Yeah.
You make poor decisions. You like sugar, your glucose, alcohol, cigarettes. Yeah. You can slow down the healing process. So relatively, if you can slow it down, must be able to speed it up.
That's it. Every opposite action has a reaction, doesn't it?
That's it.
Yeah. There you go.
There you have it. So, so that's there's a natural history which a lot of practitioners will talk about. So, you sprain your ankle 6 weeks, your jaw 6 to 12 weeks, hamstring 6 to 12 weeks, shoulders 6 to 12 weeks. Like there's a natural history that if you didn't do anything, it should be all right.
Okay.
Should be.
Yeah. Emphasize that word.
Yeah. And that's assuming that you've got all your little bad habits sorted out. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, that rolls us into the next question in regards to the difference between physio and chiro, because off air we were talking about that and people's understanding of the two, because they are quite different, aren't they?
Yeah.
Physio is more, and correct me if I'm wrong here, more muscular related in terms of tears, inflammation, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Would that be correct?
Yeah. So physiotherapy is the... I guess the study and management of movement patterns.
Okay.
Does that make sense? More of a movement-based approach to everything. Whereas chiropractic, like based on the way I've described it, is more about getting the nervous system functioning well.
Yes.
Right. And then I kind of tie it together. For those who have ever done CrossFit, there's a pyramid you have to address first, right? And this is the same in rehabilitation, be it chiro or physio.
Yep.
That mobility is king, or queen, or whatever you identify as these days. But if you don't have the mobility, the exercises you do are going to be ineffective, or you're pushing it uphill. You know what I mean? Like, you'll still get results, but you might be exhausting a lot of your energy to achieve that movement simply because you haven't checked to see if the joints are moving. You know, and that does require hands-on. Like, I've measured stuff in the practice. Like, I've got the little digital algometer. I think I don't even know what it's called. Anyway, measures the angles of how everything is moving.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember doing that. Yep.
So yeah, and again, that's one of my belief systems. If you don't measure it, you can't manage it.
100%.
You'll know this. From macros to
calories, weight, measurements, skin folds.
So my opinion is that the two can coexist, and they should. They should coexist because, and I'm an advocate of it. Like, once people can move, I'm like, you need to be lifting heavy shit. Right, because I can get people through the like let's get you to functional. But then you need to stimulate your nervous system.
Absolutely.
By some sort of training. Right, and I can't communicate, and this is like, your listeners are going to be converts anyway. But lifting heavy shit is integral for the nervous system to continue to adapt.
Absolutely.
So I can get you the mobility,
Yep.
right? And I can remove the subluxation pattern, not entirely because you're going to do the same stupid shit that got you there. But it's called human nature.
Yeah, it is. Poor habits, yeah.
That's why people see chiros for their entire life. It's because, I do stupid shit every time. And I like my little something on the side.
Yeah, that's right.
It's human nature. It's going to keep me in business forever.
Yeah.
But once you have that mobility, then you need to move.
Yes.
So chiro really could be set up in those early stages to get people moving, to assess them, to get their nervous system working so well that when they go to physiotherapy, it's going to work better.
There you go.
If you skip the chiro, which most people do, and like the way the current medical system is based is they are pro-physio.
Yes.
So they'll send people there. But now you're pushing it uphill, like I said, right? Essentially, if you haven't got your nervous system functioning well and you haven't got your mobility functioning well, you're still getting results, but you're driving your car with your foot on the brake and the accelerator at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Like, you're just going to burn the energy, burn the gas, wear out the pads faster, and you'll get frustrated with
I was about to say, you're probably throwing the towel.
Because because you're not seeing the results fast enough.
Yep.
Or they don't have all the information.
Correct, yeah.
What you'll know with me is I do x-ray everyone because I can do a better job if I've got that information.
100%, yeah.
I'm friggin' good with my hands. I'm real good, but I can't see everything.
No.
And there's so much variation in the human body that if you don't know, you're guessing.
Yeah.
And I don't want to guess with anyone's help.
Hell no. No way.
So I'll do the x-ray so I can help people get a better result in a shorter amount of time.
Unreal.
That's a key component. And then we can move them on, right? Yep. Now, I do look after people because they love the results that they get once we've got them moving and they're being consistent. Consistency is king.
Yes.
But I will recommend they go do the follow-up stuff, either with a physio or a personal trainer, and get training. And it's usually the major turning point. And here's the reality, right? I'm going to be honest. Is this existent isn't pain-free. Right? Every elite athlete is still dealing with something.
Of course they are.
Still dealing with something.
Yeah.
So this expectation to have no pain ever.
Yeah. No.
It doesn't exist.
No, it's not possible.
It doesn't exist.
No, not in the world we live in.
And in a Western culture, that's kind of the goal, right?
Yeah.
And every time someone fills out their paperwork, I just want to be pain-free. Right? I'm like, oh, that's a novel like goal. It's not realistic.
You can reduce it, but
Can reduce it. And like if there's an acute scenario going on, then let's get you out of trouble. But you're always going to be dealing with something.
Yeah.
So control those factors. In Eastern culture, they celebrate discomfort.
Yeah.
Right? You got to have your discomfort so you can get some contrast or essentially some
Gratitude.
Yeah, to appreciate the good stuff.
Yeah.
The highs and lows of life. And so
right.
training's the same, relationships are the same. You've got to have the good times and the bad times
100%.
to give you perspective.
It's interesting, isn't it?
We're getting a bit philosophical now.
That's all right. That's okay. Wherever it takes us, mate. Oh, by the way, I got my reminder to attend your session yet tomorrow.
Oh, perfect.
How's that for timing? All right. So obviously, I came to you because I was having trouble getting quality sleep, right? And I think you put a post up on social media regarding the benefits of adjustment.
Correct.
And then long-term sleep improvement. So do you want to go into that a little bit? I know you said it could take about 4 hours, so let's condense it down.
Yeah.
But sleep is obviously something that I speak to people all the time. It's something that a lot of people struggle with, and it's all correlated. It's due to obviously lifetime of stress, kids constantly thinking, devices at night time, all this sort of stuff. But through adjustment, you can obviously
influence that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So again, sleeping is super important to reboot the nervous system.
Okay.
And so it ties into chiropractic really well. And this will go into some of the postural stuff that we want to talk about a little bit as well. But there's two primary postures, right? There's the nice upright posture, good curve in the neck, good curve in the upper back, good curve in your lower back.
Yep.
Which we call the anatomical position, which is great for facilitating the parasympathetic nervous system.
Yep.
Right? What is the parasympathetic nervous system? That is rest, digest, and repair.
Yeah.
Or at university, because we don't say this to patients, is for rooting, resting, digesting, and repair. Right? So,
excellent.
Procreation is on the parasympathetic side of things, which is really interesting because so many people have issues falling pregnant these days.
True.
Is a reflection on how fast, how busy our lives are at the moment.
Yeah.
And if you put it in perspective, if you're being chased by a lion, it's not a good time to get pregnant.
No, it's not.
Would you agree?
Yeah, agreed.
So if you're constantly running away from the lion because you're so busy, because you're trying to do all the things, doing 30 hit sessions a week, and eating food on the run, and never slowing down, not getting enough sleep, it's no surprise fertility rates are dropping.
That's right.
No surprise.
Very good point.
So our aim with chiropractic is to be able to get people into a correct posture so they can rest, digest, repair.
Yeah.
What we see, and this is pretty much 100% of the imaging that I take, it would be rare, maybe in kids, but even that's starting to slide now because of the devices. Is we're seeing the sympathetic posture, which is head forward, rolled shoulders, and that's okay because that's a fight and flight posture. If you are running away from the lion, you need accessory muscles for breathing. So head comes forward, it opens up the rib cage, scalenes get tight, so you can lift the chest up and get more air in, so you can outrun the threat. And then that'll also set off your hormones as well. So cortisol goes up, adrenaline goes up, and that's the whole idea. So you can get out of trouble. They shouldn't be up all the time, though.
God, no.
They shouldn't be up all the time. This is what we see.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to fertility and that sort of thing as well, and sleeping, is that cortisol steals from progesterone. It's called the cortisol steal.
Yeah, right.
Made from the same building blocks. So if you're chronically stressed, you're not going to have any progesterone left. You know what progesterone is?
Yeah.
It's progestation. That's what that does. That keeps you pregnant or gets you pregnant.
Gets you pregnant, yeah.
But if you don't have any progesterone floating around, you can't get pregnant.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's because we're chronically stressed. Now, cortisol as well inhibits serotonin.
Yes.
Right? Do you know what serotonin is great for? Keeping people asleep. Now, if you've got cortisol floating around, that's going to inhibit serotonin, decrease your serotonin levels. If you don't have enough serotonin, you're not going to be able to stay asleep. Right? And so that's one of the major factors that we find with people with forward head carriage and these busy lifestyles is they have too much cortisol, too much adrenaline floating around, and you can't get into a good sleep cycle because you pretty much blocked it.
You're sleeping, but you're waking up tired still.
Bingo.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So that's how posture plays into it. Of course, if we can get people functionally into a rest, digest, repair posture, and that might be, one, you have to be able to get it there.
Yes.
So that's my job, is to improve the mobility of someone's spine,
Yep.
remove the subluxation pattern, allow their nervous system to do the job, but then we have to practice that posture.
Yes.
So I'll have people laying on a foam roller to really open it up.
Yep.
Or you could do it up against the wall even, if that's better for some people. But you have to have essentially your ears over your shoulders, shoulders over your hips,
Yep.
these nice curves through the spine, puts you in rest, digest, repair. And that's how you calm the farm down so you can rest.
But you've got to do it, again, consistently.
Consistently.
Yeah.
Consistently.
Yeah.
And every hormone in the body has a circadian rhythm. And what I tend to see is we've obliterated the rhythm.
Yeah.
And fatigued a lot of it, all right? Cortisol is meant to go up at the start of the day.
Oh, of course.
So we can get up and chase up food from a Paleolithic point of view,
Yeah.
right? Or, like I like to say, get up and do your exercise first thing in the day.
Yep.
Shock the system. Cortisol goes up.
Yep.
Cortisol's amazing anti-inflammatory. Right? They've even made a synthetic one called cortisone, which they inject into people.
That's right.
But then cortisol should come down at the end of the day because it does inhibit serotonin.
Yep.
So if it comes down, then serotonin can go up and you can get to sleep.
Yeah, okay.
Or stay asleep.
Yep.
And what I've found, and there's been a lot of research on it, especially in shift workers,
Yeah, true.
is that circadian rhythm is cactus.
Yeah.
And that will shorten your life expectancy as well if you are in this chronic sleep deprivation.
Absolutely. Yeah, wow.
And you'll know some of this, I'm sure you've experienced, that you can use herbs and essentially different rituals to coach the circadian rhythm again.
Yep.
Right? The issue is that we've had so much stress, then our circadian rhythm for cortisol becomes poor. Like if your adrenal glands can't produce cortisol at the right levels, it'll just give you a little trickle all day long, right? And all night long.
Yes.
So if it's trickling, you don't have enough to wake you up in the morning. So you're like, I need my coffee. Put more pressure on the friggin' adrenal glands.
Yeah.
And that'll give you a little spike, right? But then you crash down again.
Pretty much, yep.
And so you still got this little trickle of cortisol, and that's just high enough now that through the night it's going to interrupt your sleep.
Yeah.
So as a chiropractor, we know that if we get you adjusted regularly, we can start to change that hormonal profile. It's been my experience that while we can have a significant difference, it's all the other little things that you have to stack in your favour.
Of course, yeah.
So I'm not saying don't have your coffee. I'm just saying make sure you got strategies around it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So have your coffee, have your exercise first thing in the morning. Get out in the sunlight, do all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
And then get that cortisol up, but then allow it to come down. Right? And funny enough, when we get super stressed, everyone's craving is carbohydrate.
It is.
Carbohydrate's a great way to get cortisol down naturally.
Yes.
Right? So we'll talk about that when it comes to nutrition. Is let's get some carbs in the evening so we can drive the cortisol down, help you get to sleep.
Yep.
People will know this from the Christmas experience. When you have all the food, you can't stay awake in the afternoon.
No, you can't. You get very sleepy.
You have the Christmas sleepy. Well, that's carbohydrates in full force there.
Absolutely.
So that's what happens. And then there's a lot around sleep hygiene as well. You talked about the screens.
Yep.
Screens aren't the only thing. Like we know about the blue lights in the screens, and that's terrible because it's telling your brain it's daylight.
Yes.
Stay awake and do some work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we all keep staring at it.
Yeah.
Like the TVs are blue screens.
They are.
When we grew up, we had the cathode ray tubes, the old fat back
Yeah,
TVs.
yeah.
No blue light coming out of those bad boys.
No, there wasn't.
I couldn't get through a full basketball game. Right.
Yeah, true.
Half time, I'm
you'd be
asleep,
out,
and I missed out who wins. There was no replay either back
No,
then.
that's true. Yeah, good point.
Had to wait for the newspaper the next morning. But that's not the only blue light. Now, LEDs, as inexpensive as they are and great at producing light, to make things white, they add a lot more blue.
Yeah, okay.
So there's a whole heap of blue light coming out of LEDs that we don't know. And you'll kind of know when you start, because you see LEDs on the other side of the highway, and the lights kind of shimmer blue when they drive past. That's the blue light to make it white.
Yeah, okay.
So inadvertently, we're using low energy options which is keeping us awake at night.
Yeah, there you go.
Interesting, hey?
It is very...
What did we used to have? Incandescent lights.
That's right. Yeah.
What colour was everything?
Yeah.
Yellow.
Yellow or orange, yeah.
Or orange.
Yeah.
Have you seen blue blockers?
No.
So blue blockers are these glasses.
Oh, yeah, I've got a set somewhere.
You got a set?
Yeah.
And what colour are they?
Well, the frame's black. I don't know what the...
They're usually orange.
Oh, mine aren't. Yeah, okay.
So they're usually yellow or orange.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
To calm the farm down. Now, if you go back to our Paleolithic stuff,
Yep.
right, what were we doing in the evenings? Sitting around the campfire.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Who gets sleepy when they go camping looking at the campfire?
100%.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Why is that? Orange stimulates the melatonin.
There you go.
Right. So,
Yeah, wow.
So maybe we should be sitting around the campfire at night. And we all know,
Yeah.
when you go camping, like you feel like it's midnight. You swear it's
Yeah,
midnight.
you look
It's
at the
like
watch, it's 7.
7:05. It's like, I'm cactus. I'm done.
I'm
I
going
gotta
to bed, yeah.
So there's some things you can do to hack that circadian rhythm.
Yep.
You do want to spike it at the start of the day, and then you do want to get it to drop, and so you want to use those things like blue blockers and
Yep.
Have good hygiene around your screens, that
Yep,
sort of thing.
absolutely.
Magnesium's a simple one, right?
Yeah.
A simple one. People know about it, but are they using it?
Yeah, true.
Use it. Use your friggin' magnesium. And then there's herbs like ashwagandha and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Turmeric is amazing
Yep.
to use in the evening just to help get that hormonal profile doing a circadian rhythm again.
Yep.
Of course, getting adjusted is going to help facilitate the nervous system to respond to those patterns.
Absolutely.
Right? To respond to the herbs, to respond to the nutrition, to
Of
respond
course.
to the light, all that sort of stuff.
Get all your ducks in a row, and then you're going to have a better result.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. So that was the fast version of my my take on some of the sleep stuff.
Absolutely. Oh, look, it makes sense, and as I said at the start, everyone's so stressed, so impatient, so much going on that sleep tends to take a backward step, doesn't it?
Oh, one of my idols is Arnold, right?
Yeah.
And this probably isn't a surprise to your audience,
Yeah.
but and he's famous for saying, like you got 8 hours at work, 8 hours you should be working on yourself or your
Yep.
projects, and 8 hours sleep. And he's like, if you have to sleep 8 hours, I'm telling you to sleep faster. That was Arnold. So
Yeah.
I've lived by that for so long,
Yeah.
and I'll admit I'm not sleeping enough.
Yeah.
I'm not sleeping enough.
Yeah. It is very hard, particularly when there's so much going on.
So much going on.
But at what detriment, at what risk, at what price are you paying?
We know. So this generation coming through, so we're talking about those who are probably in their 20s now,
Yep.
because of their sleep deprivation and because of their lifestyle,
Yep.
that they have a lower life expectancy than us.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
there's a chance that we will outlive the generation coming behind
Oh,
us.
that's scary, isn't it?
Right?
Yeah,
That's the detriment.
yeah.
That's
absolutely.
the detriment.
Yeah, it's generational.
Generational.
Scary stuff. So we've touched on this, and this was another reason I came to you, because I've obviously got clear kyphosis. So posture correction, obviously that's something that is very much in your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But it's not so much kyphosis, it's lordosis as well, and even scoliosis
Yeah.
are things that you can, again, adjust over time, yeah?
Yeah. Look, I say management
Yeah.
because sometimes a ship has sailed.
Yes.
We have much more significant impact in someone who's still growing.
Yes.
Right? There's more time, more cells to adapt.
Of course.
So I definitely work with a lot of kids and teenagers to work on that sort of scenario where we can make significant changes to those curves.
Yep.
When we become adults and there's less ability to adapt, doesn't mean we can't. There's just less ability to adapt. We can still make shifts, particularly in the neck, because there's less other supporting structures there.
Okay.
The thoracic or the mid back for people at home, that's tougher to shift because the rib cage is kind of tightened up as well.
Oh, yeah, yep.
It acts as scaffold, kind of locks everything
Yeah,
in.
good way to put it.
Doesn't mean it can't move, because it should move a lot. Like
Yep.
you're breathing in and out 16 times a minute, 22,000 times a day.
Yeah.
So it should move a lot, but it can be a limiting factor. And then the lumbar spine does have capacity to move a bit more than the thoracic or the mid-back. We work on that quite a bit. That's a lot more. Yeah, I tell you what, that's a lot more, in my opinion, and I haven't really looked at the research, but in my opinion, those who are lifting and lifting regularly
Yep.
tend to have a better outcome with postural changes into the low back.
Okay.
Right, and we're talking, one of the best rehab exercises. I'm not saying do this first off the rank, but one of the best long-term exercises for low back issues, the deadlift.
And 100%. Yeah.
Deadlift. The amount of people that are freaked out because they think they hurt their back on a deadlift.
Yep.
Or maybe they did. Maybe
Well, they could
they
have
did.
just due to poor technique, yeah.
Poor technique,
Yeah.
right? Or, like, more importantly, biting off more than you can chew too soon.
Yeah.
Right? There's a conditioning component to all of that.
Of course there is, yeah.
Because if you look at the guy lifting the heaviest deadlift in the world, he ain't lifting it with a flat back.
No, he's not. There's flexion in the spine.
There's a lot of flexion.
Yeah.
But let's put that in perspective.
Yeah.
He didn't walk up to that on his first day
Hell
and
no.
think,
Yeah.
I'm just going to lift the heaviest barbell in the world
Yeah.
here. He spent years getting there.
That's right.
So his tissues, his ligaments, his tendons, his muscles, his bones have adapted to that stress.
Yep.
Right? Maybe his vascular compliance didn't, because he bled out the nose.
Oh, that was
Eddie Hall, wasn't it?
Yeah, Eddie Hall, 500 kilo. That was amazing, yeah.
That was incredible. But he was conditioned for that, right?
Correct, yes.
But I still believe the deadlift, like there's 7, this is other stuff I've done as functional movement, but the 7 primary planes of movement we should be able to do as a human species includes deadlifts.
Yep.
Squats.
Yep.
Inline lunges. Like all these rotational movements that we should be able to do.
Yeah.
Just takes some conditioning though.
It does, yeah.
So I'll see people respond best to low back changes in posture who are lifting.
Yeah,
right?
okay.
Or swimming is the only other one that kind of makes a
interesting.
significant difference.
Yeah,
I
okay.
don't know why. Like maybe there's a lower weight bearing component, but still
be.
time under tension.
Yes.
But I do know if someone started swimming, I can tell when they come in. I'm like, there's the postural tone is just way more symmetrical.
Wow.
Way easier to work with, and that's just from observation. Right? That's anecdotal.
Yep.
Like I wouldn't say that there's some high quality research out.
No,
of it,
no,
but
no,
That's
but,
just me observing.
Yeah.
Swimming's probably one of the most significant changes someone can do.
Okay.
So postural stuff, it can, again, consistency is the key, making sure it's part of a ritual, and I choose that word carefully as well,
Yeah, okay.
right, because ritual is something you want to do,
Yeah.
right, whereas like routine, that's something you have to do.
Yes. And there's
Right.
generally resistance to
There's
that.
resistance to it. Like,
Yeah.
no, I have to do my exercise.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
you'll never get there if you have to do your exercises.
That's right.
If you want to do your exercise, you're going to get there.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So, there's a mental shift in that. So
Big
make
time.
it part of your ritual
Yep.
or your good daily habits, and you'll get change. Just like you see in this space here.
Yeah.
People who are consistent, people who trust the training and trust the process, they'll get predictable outcomes.
That's right.
It's predictable.
It is very much predictable. Yeah.
So we can make significant differences.
Yep.
The reality is, if I'm seeing someone a couple of times a week, usually in the intense phase, the initial phase, where we're trying to stop what I call the momentum in the wrong direction.
Okay.
That's the whole idea of the intensive phase at the start. Let's stop that impetus in that direction.
Yep.
And buy some time so we can shift directions.
Yeah, okay.
Right? To slower moving car takes some energy.
Yep.
Right? And then you have to do the U-turn.
Yes.
Right? That's kind of how I see the starter care. But that U-turn, that's usually the point where people think they're finished. No, you just brought the car to a halt. Now you have to turn it around.
Yeah, head the other direction.
And that's where like physio, that's where weight training comes in my opinion. We're still getting adjusted because guess what? That physical stimulus on your on your nervous system,
Yep.
it's going to cause stress.
Yeah.
You still have to manage that stress.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Through good mindset, emotional, good nutrition,
Yep.
good physical activity.
There you
right?
go.
So
Key components.
hopefully that answers the postural.
It
stuff.
does, mate. No, very much so. Very much so. I think we've covered some good content there. I reckon we'll wrap it up on that. But do you want to plug your business, Silverback? Actually, how did you come up with that name? I've been
You wanted to know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, did I meet a silverback in the wild?
Well, I don't know.
I
Did you?
wish that was the story.
Yeah. Did you? You could tell a fake story. I wrestled one, and, one jumped the barrier at the zoo or something.
No. So when I went from that transition of being an audio engineer to chiropractic, I went and did some work at a chain called Strathfield Car Audio.
Okay.
And that was a stage where I'd really hooked into training, and like I was like, I wanted to be big. And so I did, I lost quite a lot of weight from the 115 kilos down to about 90, and then I was like, let's put some back on, right? Like I want to get huge.
Yeah, sure.
So did that, and it was notable the size my back had got.
Yeah, right.
So I was working at Strathfield Car Radio in Innaloo, which is a suburb in Western Australia. And the team at Strathfield Car Radio called me the biggest back in Innaloo, right? Because I would do dips between the shelves, and I'd do chin-ups on whatever bar I could find, and so I had this massive lat spread.
Yeah, right.
So they called me the biggest back in Innaloo for the longest time.
Yeah.
I was driving offensively yellow Subaru L Series wagon. It was great, and I kitted out with the full sound system from Strathfield Car Radio.
Yeah.
It was great, but it was a pretty old car, so it started rusting. But I was like, I've got a regular job now. I can go get a new car. So this must have been about 2002. I bought a VRX Magna. Right, so it was the top end Magna with all the skirting, the trimming. It was silver and it had the chrome mags.
Okay.
So I roll up into work, and the biggest back of Innaloo suddenly became the Silverback.
The Silverback.
So that was my nickname for the longest time. So I was the Silverback.
Silverback Chiro.
And so that name stuck with me for a while, and even through uni, because I was still training, lifting weights through uni. Love just resistance training. It's kind of my home.
Yep.
And then sort of towards the end of university, we started considering these names for a business, and I'd gone to I think we were in Switzerland, maybe Zurich Zoo perhaps, and they had a family of silverbacks at the zoo.
Oh wow, yeah, okay.
And what was astonishing to me was there was obviously the nest. That's what they call the group of gorillas, is the nest. And the silverback was there, and obviously powerful, strong, intimidating if he needed to be.
Yep.
But they had a baby silverback.
Oh, right.
And he couldn't be any more nurturing. He looked after this little thing. He was gentle. He was caring.
Okay.
And when he had to run off and tell the teenagers off when he had to, right? But he'd come back and make sure the baby gorilla was taken care of.
Wow.
And I was like, I love that, right?
Yeah.
It can be strong and powerful, but nurturing at the same time.
Yes.
What a cool name for a practice.
There you go.
Right? So, you've experienced my adjustments. They're strong and powerful, but there's 100% nurturing in that practice.
Yeah.
You're taking care of people and their families.
100% you are.
So I'd love to be associated with that side of a silverback gorilla rather than someone who's beating his chest.
You can always do that if you wanted to.
That's how the name Silverback came up.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the assimilation. Yeah, that's really cool. Unreal. So you're at Batinia.
Mountain Creek.
Mountain Creek.
Yeah.
Mountain
so
Creek.
what do they call it? It's technically Mountain Creek, but it's known as Brightwater.
Brightwater. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, Brightwater. Yeah.
So that's the what do they call it? Subdivision. Of Mountain Creek.
Suburb. Yeah.
Anyway, so it's if you look it up, it's Mountain Creek.
Yep.
And so that's on the Sunshine Coast for all your international listeners.
Yep.
Worth the trip, I reckon.
Yeah. Absolutely. Go to the Adjustatorium and see Adam. And you're on social media as well. People can find you on there as well, can't they?
Yep. Yeah. It's under Silverback Chiropractic on Facebook.
Yep.
There is Instagram.
Yeah.
And we've got the website, silverbackchiropractic.com.
Yep.
Without the .au.
No .au.
No .au.
No, I'm not a .au either, so you've got to make sure that's correct.
Because people get tripped up on it all the time.
Yeah, big time. Then you end up getting some random website.
That's right.
So last question I always ask a guest is personality-based question. Who would you have over for dinner? So you can have anyone you like, fiction, non-fiction, dead or alive, to just basically sit down, have a meal, and good conversation.
Good conversation.
Yeah.
The way you wrote this to me as well, I was
Yeah.
like, who would you have for dinner? I was like, are we talking Hannibal Lecter stuff?
You could have Hannibal Lecter if you wanted to.
I mean, am I eating this
Well,
person?
well.
That's what I was like.
Oh, that's probably how it was phrased, actually, yeah.
There's multiple people, and like for me, Arnold Schwarzenegger would be an amazing one.
They're doing a doco on
I've
Netflix.
seen that. That's coming up.
3 episodes. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to seeing that. So that would definitely be someone. But I also thought about it from the point of view, who is willing to share.
True.
How, like, I'm not saying Arnold's not, but he was definitely a use him and then chuck
Move
him
on.
out kind of guy from his fantastic biography.
Yes.
He's spit him out.
Oh, yeah.
But that's how he got to where he is.
Of
and
course.
so I'd always be interested in that conversation.
Yep.
But as far as, like who would be willing to part that information? I love Michael Jordan's story, but would he be willing to tell me stuff? I don't know.
You'd have to pay him, I
don't
reckon.
know. It'd probably cost you like a franchise.
Yeah.
But I thought, who's wowing me these days still is LeBron James.
Yeah.
And I've only ever watched LeBron from afar, but I know he's a nurturing, sharing kind of guy. He's got that team mentality.
He does.
Jordan and Kobe were always very, they were one-on-one basketball players.
Yeah.
And they did elevate their team because they asked their team to work hard. Whereas I just kind of feel like LeBron would be amazing to have over because he gets the most out of his team through more of a nurturing, sharing, the rising tide floats all boats scenario.
Yeah. Strong work ethic too.
Strong work ethic. Yeah. Like he's got that. He's definitely got that Mamba mentality. First person in the gym.
And he looks after himself too.
Looks after himself.
What is he now? 40.
Was he 38?
38.
39 maybe.
So to be playing at that level still.
Yeah.
Clearly he looks after himself.
Because he's not on the decline.
No, not at all.
Not on the decline. To be at that level for 20 years, that's what I want to know. What are your strategies? Yeah. What are you eating? Who looks after you?
Yep.
That was stuff I wanted to ask Arnold too. Is you travel a lot, you get around the country. Obviously, there's got to be some time restrictions.
Yes.
So how do you optimize what you do?
Yep.
What is your nutrition like? Who have you got in your corner?
Yeah.
How do you get the rest? What does that look like?
100%.
So I think LeBron James at this point in time would be someone I'd love to have over dinner, so I could talk about that.
There you go. Good answer. I like that. Unreal. Well, thank you very much, Adam. Do appreciate your time, and there was some incredible value in that, and I'm sure the listeners will appreciate it.
I hope they find it interesting. And
absolutely. And look, if anyone's obviously wanting to reach out to Adam, by all means do so. I highly recommend him and his service, and it's certainly helped me at this point in time. And I've still got, ages to go.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure how long I've got left in terms of just the initial part, but we'll keep turning up. I can't get used to the back crack, the one where you do turn me over you'd ask me to breathe out, then in or in and out, and then it's just whack. I don't know. I brace still.
Yeah,
because it's coming, but I know it's good for me. So
And this might be a bit too much information for everyone at home, but Paul does have what looks like to be a previous injury in that part of his back.
Oh yeah.
So we can't be sure, but it looks like there was a compression fracture at some stage. Paul kind of knows when it might have been. But of course, that's been there for a long time, and there's going to be some apprehension around those adjustments. And we're breaking up scar tissue, so it's not entirely comfortable around those areas.
Yeah, 100%.
But that's the one that Paul's talking about. He does. I know he braces.
You can probably tell.
I change my timing on it every time he comes. I go straight away, or I go
2,
bang.
Yeah. On 3? No, we go on 2. All right. Thanks very much, mate. Really appreciate it. And
Thanks,
this will go up on Monday, and I'll put all the contact information for your practice in here as well.
Amazing.
And,
Thanks so much.
No worries. This podcast is brought to you by 2 More Reps Coffee Beans. Get your 2 more reps with this natural pre-workout. Buy your bag at 2morereps.com.au. Well, I have to thank Dr. Adam for such a intriguing and high-value podcast. He shared a lot, and we could have talked for hours too, to be honest. The chiropractic world is something I'm not that familiar with, but he has opened my eyes to many other modalities and many other ways of treatment, but also just better ways to further your own health and fitness to achieve that optimal level that everyone is looking for. So highly recommend following him along, and if you're in need of a chiropractor, then please give Adam a shout at his practice at Silverback Chiropractic there in Mountain Creek on the Sunshine Coast. So if you've enjoyed this podcast, please screenshot and share it across your stories. Tag myself at Paul's Body Engineering. Obviously, tag Silverback Chiropractic as well there on Instagram. And if you're interested in any of my coaching services or my new training app, jump on paulsbodyengineering.com. And as I say to every client every single day, have a great day.